jungle.
Assalamualaikum to all viewers. Today we would like to talk about landslide. According to World Health Organization (WHO), landslide caused more than 18,000 deaths worldwide in between year 1998 until 2017. Landslide is a movement of mass of rock, debris, or earth down a slope. According to Cruden 2003, the main causes of slope failure belongs to three main groups, which are, firstly, subsoil strength. Steep and high slopes require more strength to uphold as compared to low or medium height slopes. With the passage of time, sometimes the soil becomes weak, and this also gives rise to instability. Secondly, poor water pressure. In peak monsoon season, effective stress decreases, which lowers down the shearing resistance at the slip surface. That is why slope fails after heavy downpour. Thirdly, external impacts. Earthquake forces, scoring, and wrong cutting at the toe put the slope at the verge of failure. The landslide happens in all places around the world, as in Malaysia, according to Majid, Taha and Selamat 2020 in their study on the historical landslide event at Malaysia in year 1993 until 2019, state that Malaysia has been experienced multiple natural disasters such as landslide, mudslide, and flood due to heavy rainfall as the climate in our country is hot and humid. The increasing of landslide effect is closely linked to the development of new infrastructure such as highways, road network, dams, and the demand for housing sector, so that it has to build in the high terrain. The consequence of the landslide tragedy has led to environment and socio-economic damages, destruction of property and human lives. In this documentary, we will focus on the general knowledge of the landslide in order to understand the occurrence of landslide in Malaysia and other places. Furthermore, there are various types of landslide that occur all around the world. The first type is landslide in bedrock, which is known as rockfalls. It is defined as a trait of actively forming rockfall. Screes is the sorting of rock debris, with larger stones at the scree base and smallest at the top. The rockfall is a single and small rockfall from cliff built up to form aprons of scree or talus, which develop over long period of time. Next, there are four types of rock slope failure, which is planar failure that occurs where a block of rock slides along a single defect in excavated face. In addition, wedge failure occurs when two continuous planar defects intersect and daylight in excavated face. The toppling failure occurs when persistent defects dip steeply into the excavated slope and the blocks or columns form topple out of the face. Generally, it has weak layer at the base that the vertical blocks slide along. Next, composite failure is a common in excavated coal mine slope. It involves combination of planar, wedge, and toppling along persistent defects and some component of rock mass fracturing. It is vertically or subvertically bound by structural defects and horizontally bound by a weak carbonaceous layer. The last type of landslide in bedrock is rotational landslide. It is defined as downward and outward movement of mass on top of concave upward failure surface. It is normally occurs at places where more resistant rocks founder over underlying weaker rocks. In addition, landslide in regolith involve upper soil layer that occurred during heavy rainfall. As the water enters soil particles, it will increases their weight, and when the ground is fully saturated, the water pressure begins to force the particles apart. The types of landslide in regolith are debris flows that starts off as a translational slide, but the water and rubble mix as the slide moves downslope, forming a slurry that flows. Debris flows leave a trail of rubble in their wake, forming distinctive ridges. Next, creep is the slow downslope movement of material under gravity, occurs over large areas. There are three types of creep occur, which are seasonal movement or creep within the soil due to seasonal changes in soil moisture and temperature. For example, frost have processes. Secondly, continuous creep, where the soil and rock debris are not strong enough to resist gravity. Thirdly, progressive creep, where the soil and rock debris suddenly reach a critical state such that it will fail due to other factors. Lastly, solifluction is a mixture of creep and flow, which forms distinctive sheets, terraces, and lobes of debris and boulders. Solifluction sheet and lobes are found on steeper slopes where the process has moved loosened boulders and soil downslope.
Heavy and prolonged rainfall. Landslide occurs often with intense rainwater, creating zone of weakness as the water infiltrates into ground. At the same time, coast water tables rise, make some slopes surface unstable and easy to collapse along with the water flow. Next is the forest fire. This natural factor causes soil erosion, induce floods, and landslide due to the destruction of the natural vegetation. This happens because the soil has no support from the tree roots that helps to strengthen the soil, thus let it easy to collapse. Next natural factor is the earthquake. The earthquake causes the ground to vibrate, then cause particles of soil to move and easy to collapse. In this video shows the footage of earthquake that caused landslide that happens in Japan in 2016. Next is the wave action can erode the land surface. For example, the wave can form a cave due to the wave pressure. The arc then created when the cave got hauled it through and extend to the other side. Then the top part became weak, due has no support beneath it and collapsed, leaving a stack behind that can be eroded by the wave, then became a slump. And the last one is the volcano's activity. These conditions commonly prevail after volcanic eruption that kill all objects in the land surface, including vegetation, over extensive areas and spread loose volcanic rock over the landscape. This makes the existing plant to be burned and destroyed, thus cause the soil structure has no support. The next factor is the anthropogenic factor, that means of relating to or involving the impact of humans toward the nature. The first one is the inappropriate drainage system. This causes the water surface runoff or irrigated water on slope, expose soils under the cultivation to erosion. Due to that, make water easy to be absorbed by soil and increase its weight, then cause additional load on the slope. The second anthropogenic factor is human activity, for example, cutting and deep excavations on slopes for buildings, roads, canals and mining. This will cause the modification of natural slope, blocking of surface drainage, loading of critical slopes, and withdrawal to tow support promoting vulnerability of the soil. The third one is the change in slope or land use pattern. On a land, in order to increase productivity, will make change of activity, for example, from forest place to agriculture farm. Other than that, it will enhance other opening sectors such as urban development, industrial development, oil and gas, mining, and forestry. When earthquakes happen, the strong ground shaking compresses the sediment and causes a big spike in water pressure below the ground, which effectively reduces the friction stresses that normally hold the grains together. The sediments transform into a fluid-like layers that can flow. This allows the grounds above of liquefied layer to break up and slide downhill under the force of gravity. There are few reasons why the ground may fail and cause landslide, but one of the main causes is groundwater. When the water penetrates the soil, it saturates the ground and reduces friction between the top layers of soil and harder layers of bedrock beneath. The top layers of soil then slide downward, creating the landslide. There are various methods of preventing the landslide, such as the first one is by planting a new plant to replace the deforestation activity. By modifying the slope geometry by planting a vegetation, not only it will help to slow down the raindrop as they fall, the root of the plant will also help to hold the soil together by making it harder for water to wash it away. The second one, on landslide prevention, is by using a biodegradable and geosynthetic method. There are many of the engineering solutions are available to control soil erosion. Many of these solutions use biodegradable or geosynthetic methods that are designed to prevent erosion and give freshly planted vegetation a chances to grow.
You can then start putting your plants in the ground. As you see, we've put 3 in here already.
The third one is by installing the structure such as pile, retaining walls, grouting rock joints, and gabion in a risk slope area. This will decrease the chances of landslides from happening as it holds the area of soil stabilization. The next one is the diverting debris pathway, as it acts to rerouting surface of landslide that caused by the water running surface. It will follow the drainage path as it is only a path that designed to duck the landslide. This will not only manage the landslide or flood in a right pathway, but it also helps to keep the surrounding neighborhood safe. The last one, using a temporary prevention method that can be used in case of landslide already happened and want to prevent it from becoming worse. For example, by using a plastic or a huge size of canvas can be used to divert water from uncontrolled spilling, just as retaining wall and diverted pathway do. This helps to protect the soil surface from being dragged down by water.
A slope can be felt by many contributing factors. But there is always one main factor that triggers the landslide at the time of failure. It should be noted that landslide may occur without apparent triggering factors. Landslides in Malaysia are often triggered by intense rainfall, change in water level, and change in slope geometry. The main factor that causes slope failure at hillside development in Malaysia is rainfall and stormwater activity. Case study below shows the landslide triggering factors based on selective Malaysia case history. The first case study is in Highland Tower, Kuala Lumpur. The collapse of Highland Towers in Kuala Lumpur occurred in 1993. A major cause of landslide is due to the improper drainage system. It was found that above Highland Tower is a small stream that has been diverted into a system of drain and pipes. In the early 1990s, a new development in Bukit Antarabangsa began to the other side of the ridge. Vast area of the land is cleared and deforested, and water runoff is diverted into the same system of drains and pipes above Highland Towers. These drains and pipes soon become stressed by the increased flow of water and silt, and very quickly the pipe was blocked and overflowing, then it burst in a number of places. And unfortunately, the water feeding into the hillside right across the back of Highland Towers. Heavy rainfalls dump more water on the already heavily saturated slope, and the water pressure behind the slope reached a critical threshold directly behind Block 1 of Highland Tower. A huge volume of wet mud burst forwards and downwards, smashing through the retaining walls. Seconds later, a huge number of muds rams into the foundation of Block 1. To begin with, the landslide shovels the entire mass of the building forwards. But this lateral sideways pressure is so powerful that the foundations at the front snap and Block 1 crashed down. The second case study was in Bukit Antarabangsa, Ulu Klang, Selangor. In 2008, a massive landslide has occurred in Bukit Antarabangsa. The potential triggers for the landslide are related to drainage system, subsoil condition, geology, groundwater, human errors, and technical errors. The soil creep over the years may have damaged the active water pipe along the abandoned house and leaked the pipe. The leaks contributed to continuous soil saturation at the lower slope and in turn to accelerated creep. Poorly maintained or damaged drainage on the fell slope and its vicinity soil creeping, which initiates or widens existing cracks and forming new tension cracks, caused a section of slope collapse at the district of Gombak, which resulting in fatalities and injuries. The third case study was in Po Shan Road, Hong Kong. The Po Shan Road landslide occurred in 1972 and took out several houses and retaining walls as the dirt moved from Po Shan Road to Cotwell Road. The terrain here in Po Shan Road is steep and prone to landslides during heavy rainfall. Before the 1972 disaster, there had been a history of minor landslide cracks and aborted construction works in the vicinity of the fateful landslide. Heavy rainfall persisted throughout the day, and there was a large landslide behind Hamilton Court, a building under construction nearby on Po Shan Road. The number of small landslides were observed in Po Shan Road, which resulted the garden terrace beside the road settling some 2 meters. Further down the slope, a building site on Conduit Road experienced a large landslide on a cut slope, and water was seen emerging from the ground above Skyline Mansion. After a heavy rainfall, the garden terrace dropped another 3 meters, and the water flowing above the Skyline Mansion increased considerably, and the condition at the building site on Conduit Road deteriorated. There are many factors that contribute to the occurrence of the landslides. One of the major contributing factors is erosion. Erosion is a factor caused by weather events such as rain and snow, then slowly wearing down at whatever rock and soil make up the landscape. These underlying factors has shown itself at Poshan Road, which has had a history of being susceptible to landslide and rockfalls. In conclusion, landslides are a dangerous hazard that may inflict significant damage, death, and injury, as well as cause damage on a variety of property. The understanding in various forms and causes of landslide may guide in the prediction of future occurrence and the mitigation of potential consequences. Avoiding and preventing the construction or development in particular areas can be enforced together in order to reduce the risk of injury. Last but not least, it is necessary to guarantee that government guidance and advice on instability planning and management is appropriately conveyed to local governments and other organizations, not only to an expert.